Actually, this is a work that I made in 2010. I was still studying. I was in Geneva. And as I really liked this work, I really wanted to show it in another context, also because I think it's an ongoing work in a way. I don't have all the initial piece or fragment of the 2010 work, and so I remade some new one last summer. And they are like putting together. This is why also the title, it's mentioned like a two, because like it's a second version of it. And it could be like a third one, a fourth one, and because I think it's an ongoing process. Usually it was like monster or monstering was related to a technical aspect to make drapery. Also evoke in English the fact to make monster. So to have this unprecise, scary aspect in the work. It's a work who is really talking about this drapé topic, because I was always like fascinated by this sculptural study in a way, and I was mostly influenced by Barocco works like Bernini. It reminds the body. This is always something a bit weird in my work. You feel that there is a gesture, but there is no physical illustration or figure of a body. I think those fabrics or this drapé is also something really sensual. Yeah, and I like this, that I can maybe suggest a form of sensuality or kind of erotism with this kind of shapes. But it's also a weird contrast, because those materials are sun-blind, and some are used, or they are really dirty, and I was really working with rubbish or things that I found on the street at this period, at this time, because I liked it to work with this attraction-repulsion stuff. How to create this kind of physical effect. I use this epoxy resin that really fixes and makes this fabric super hard, and also at the same way super fragile. And then you have this, it gives also this shininess. When you would see it in real, you can see how this material, how the texture is a bit weird. But then maybe it's more about the dimension. This is why I'm talking about the body. In the imaginary, you put that in link with outdoor picture or landscape experience. About colors, but it's also about textures. For example, you were asking me about my roots, like my mother comes from Switzerland and my father is from Tunisia. I have this both contrasted influence, so I mostly grew up in Switzerland and I'm more like European mentality, but we used to go every summer to Tunisia, so it was always like a big change, and I think it shaped also how I'm looking to the world, asking the question that I'm asking myself: what is this point of view? The colors that I use, they're also always in a kind of shade with a certain kind of light. At some point, I was relating the palette of color that I was using to this painter movement. So this is how I would put these colors that I use for monstering in that. There's more like color a bit more stronger, like there is an orange which is super strong, a yellow also, and they're suddenly like creating a contrast and they get more tension. It creates a really physical effect. So I tried to experiment this with the works I'm doing and how I'm using colors. See what is around in the studio. So here it's kind of crowded. It's the way I'm working. I have those different objects, and this doesn't mean that it's set for an installation, but they are more here as a landscape. So I have it. It's my environment, so I can have them in my environment and just think about them when I see them. They're just sometimes laying for weeks or just one day or several months. I stay maybe in the same stage and suddenly I move things around, and Just I like to have all these different objects and suddenly maybe it will go together at some point or not. Yeah, this is why also I stay in this abstract register, because yeah, it has this potential to evoke and not to be literal. I lived in Geneva since ever. So I grew up there and I did my study. And I finished the school in 2011 and now I'm 31. I just feel the need to go abroad, to live somewhere else. And while I was applying for the Rijksacademie, where I have my studio now and where we're having this interview. Here it's so funny because everything is so flat, and in Geneva, Switzerland, I guess also in the Alpine region, you have all these mountains. And for me, it's really like to experiment that. It's really new to have this kind of horizon, super, you can see really far away without any hills or things that come to block the view.